It was supposed to be just a chill weekend. Me, my cousin Logan, and the lake house we'd been going to since we were kids. That's what he said in the text. Come up to the lake this weekend. Just us. Beer, boat, bonfire. You in? After the hell week I'd had, back-to-back shifts at the bar, 2 group projects falling apart, and my AC going out, I didn't need convincing. I hadn't seen Logan in a while. We used to be close. Closer than cousins, really. More like brothers. But ever since he transferred schools last year and started hanging with a new crowd, we kinda drifted. So when he texted out of the blue, it felt nice. Like, maybe he missed me too. The drive up was nostalgic. Same winding 2-lane road, same pine trees blurring past the windows, same gas station stop for gummy worms and iced tea. The lake house was tucked away about an hour from our hometown, sitting right on the edge of Stillwater Lake. Small, nothing fancy, but full of memories. When I pulled into the gravel driveway, the sun was just starting to dip behind the trees, casting gold across the water. Logan's beat-up Jeep was already there, parked at an angle like always. I threw my bag over my shoulder and headed for the porch. That's when I heard voices. Not just Logan's deep, familiar laugh, but another voice, lighter, unfamiliar, a guy's voice. I hesitated at the screen door, hearing footsteps and laughter inside. Then Logan's voice called out, "Yo, Jace, door's open!" I stepped inside, and there they were. Logan, barefoot and shirtless in board shorts, standing in the kitchen cracking open a beer, and someone else sitting on the counter beside him. The guy looked about our age. Dark hair, skin sun-kissed like he'd already been outside all day. One eyebrow slightly raised like he was already sizing me up. He wore a faded tank top and gym shorts, and his smile was easy, confident. "Jace, this is Milo," Logan said, tossing me a beer. "He's a friend from campus." Milo raised his bottle. Hey, I said, trying to play it cool, even though I was caught completely off guard. Logan hadn't said anything about someone else coming. And maybe it was dumb, but I'd been looking forward to some one-on-one cousin time, grabbing beers on the dock, reminiscing, maybe even talking about some stuff I hadn't told anyone lately. But now there was a third person, and he was hot. Like, the kind of hot that made my stomach flip for no good reason. I told myself to chill. This was Logan's friend. Straight, probably. Friendly, definitely. And I wasn't here to catch feelings. I was here to relax. But that night, as we sat around the fire pit with beers in hand and stars overhead, I couldn't stop noticing things. The way Milo laughed at my dumb jokes. How he sat just a little too close when he didn't have to. The way his eyes lingered when I looked away. And when Logan went inside to grab more firewood, Milo leaned toward me slightly, voice low. "Didn't know Logan had a cousin," I shrugged. "Didn't know Logan invited anyone else." He grinned, unfazed. "He probably didn't want you to cancel." I glanced at him. "Why would I cancel?" He held my gaze for a second longer than felt normal. Some people don't like surprises. And then Logan came back, dropping an armful of wood between us, and just like that, the moment was gone. But it stuck with me. Later that night, I climbed into the old twin bed in the guest room, listening to the creaks and groans of the house settling. I stared at the ceiling, the buzz of beer still in my veins, and thought about Milo, and how the weekend had just started, and how this trip wasn't going to go the way I thought it would. The next morning, I woke up to the sound of someone moving around in the kitchen. For a second, I forgot where I was, until I caught the sound of coffee and the sound of bacon sizzling. My body ached slightly from the road trip, and my brain still felt foggy from the beers last night. I pulled on a hoodie and padded out barefoot. Logan was at the stove, spatula in one hand, shirtless again, like always. "Milo's already out on the dock," he said without turning. "Dude wakes up at, like, sunrise. Freak!" I poured myself some coffee. What's he even doing out there? Stretching, meditating, whatever hot guys do when they're alone with a lake and too much inner peace. I almost spit out my coffee. "You think he's hot?" Logan glanced at me, grinning. "Objectively speaking? Yeah. Dude's like genetically engineered or something." "Why, you got a crush already?" I scoffed and focused on my mug. You'd love that, wouldn't you? Logan smirked. Maybe. I ignored the jab, but my mind was racing a little. Not because I had a crush. At least, not that I'd admit. But because Milo had unsettled me more than I expected. He wasn't just good looking. He was sharp. Observant. Confident in a way that made me want to shrink and show off at the same time. After breakfast, Logan went into town to grab firewood and beer. I offered to go, but he waved me off. Bond with Milo. He's not as scary as he looks. I rolled my eyes, but part of me knew he wasn't wrong. I found Milo on the dock, sitting with his feet dangling over the water, a sketchpad balanced on one knee. He didn't hear me approach. Didn't peg you as the artsy type, I said. He looked over his shoulder, unbothered. I'm full of surprises. I sat down beside him, letting my feet hover just above the lake. The sun was warm on my shoulders, and the air smelled like pine and old wood. He flipped the sketchpad closed. You don't have to stop, I said. Milo shrugged, not really in the mood to be studied. I looked at him. What were you drawing? He hesitated, then handed me the pad. I opened it slowly. The lines were simple, confident. The lake, the tree line, the side of the house, and one quick sketch, unfinished, of someone sitting on the edge of the dock. It was me. You did this from memory? I asked, looking up. Milo leaned back on his elbows. You sat here for like 5 minutes last night, right before we went in. I remembered how the porch light hit your profile. I felt my throat go dry. You were watching me? He didn't flinch. Wasn't trying to be weird. You looked still. Like the kind of still people chase when everything else in life's too loud. I didn't know what to say to that. My heart was beating in this slow, heavy way that made it hard to breathe evenly. He changed the subject. So, you and Logan used to be close? Still are, I said, maybe a little too quickly. Milo nodded. He talks about you a lot. That caught me off guard. Seriously? Yeah. Says you're the only person who really gets him. Said you pulled him out of a rough place back in high school. I stared out at the lake. He did the same for me. Milo didn't say anything for a moment. Then, I like watching how you two are together. There's history, but no tension. Not like most families. I gave him a sideways glance. You got tension in yours. He smiled, but it didn't reach his eyes. Yeah, something like that. There was a long silence. Not uncomfortable, just full. Then he asked, You out? I blinked. What? Are you out? He repeated, voice steady. You don't have to answer if it's a thing. I swallowed. Not really. Not to my family. Logan knows. A few close friends. That's it. He nodded. Same. We sat there for a while. Just two guys with our feet over the water, hearts beating in slightly irregular patterns. Then Milo bumped his knee against mine, casual. You want to go swimming? I looked down at the lake. Now? He stood, grinning. You afraid to get wet? And with that, he pulled off his tank top in one smooth motion and dove in, the water splashing up and catching the sun like scattered diamonds. I watched the ripples for a second, then stood up, peeled off my hoodie and shirt, and followed him in. The water was cold at first, but it didn't matter. Nothing mattered except that we were here, and alone, and this weekend was already turning into something I hadn't expected. After we swam, we stayed in the water longer than we needed to, not saying much, just floating side by side, letting the lake carry our weight. Milo would occasionally splash water toward me, lighthearted but always with that slightly raised eyebrow, like he was waiting to see how far he could push. When we climbed back onto the dock, the sun was already high, beating down in that thick summer way that makes your skin hum. We dried off, stretched out on the wooden planks, and let the warmth pull the chill from our bones. Milo turned his head toward me, eyes squinting against the sun. "You good at keeping secrets?" I raised an eyebrow. "Depends on the secret." He rolled onto his side, propped up on one elbow. "Let's say, hypothetical situation. Someone has feelings for someone they shouldn't. Like, maybe someone close to someone else they care about. You ever been in that kind of mess?" My pulse skipped. "Maybe." He nodded slowly, eyes scanning my face. "What did you do?" "I kept it to myself," I said. "Until I couldn't." Milo gave a half smile like he understood. "And then?" "And then it got messy." He didn't press, just nodded again and lay back down, arms behind his head. We both stared up at the same sky, but I don't think we were thinking about the same things. Later that afternoon, Logan got back with more beer and a bag of junk food. We grilled burgers and spent the early evening playing cards on the deck. The three of us caught in this weird rhythm that almost felt like friendship, but wasn't quite. Logan kept teasing Milo, calling him City Boy for how he jumped when a wasp flew near him, and Milo gave it right back, accusing Logan of peaking in high school. It was loud, chaotic, familiar, except I was quieter than usual. Something about the way Milo would shoot me these small glances, brief but loaded, kept tugging at my focus. And I think Logan noticed. At one point he paused, a beer half raised to his lips, and watched the two of us for a little too long. That night, we stayed up late. The sky was cloudless, stars spread wide like someone had shaken glitter across black velvet. Logan eventually went inside, mumbling something about wanting to get up early for fishing, leaving me and Milo on the porch. He sat on the wooden railing, his knees pulled up, fingers playing with the neck of his beer bottle. I sat in one of the lawn chairs, my legs stretched out, arms folded. Milo broke the silence. "Have you and Logan ever crossed the line in your friendship?" The question hit harder than I expected. I looked up sharply. "What? No, Jesus." He didn't flinch. "Sorry, I wasn't sure. You guys are close." I shook my head. "He's my cousin. That'd be... No, never." Milo seemed to relax a little, but his voice was still cautious. "He talks about you like you're the only one who really knows him." I didn't know what to say to that. Then he added, quietly, "I think that's why I was nervous to meet you." That surprised me. "Why would you be nervous?" Milo looked at me then, really looked. "Because I knew I'd like you." It wasn't dramatic. He didn't say it with any big flair, just stated it like it was a fact he'd accepted before he got here. I felt my breath catch. And then, like a defense mechanism, I deflected. "You don't even know me." He smiled softly. "Not yet." The words hung between us. I didn't know what I was supposed to do with them. "I thought this weekend was going to be about me and Logan catching up," I admitted. "Just the two of us." "Yeah," Milo said, his gaze dropping to his bottle. "I figured that out the second I saw your face yesterday." "I didn't mean it like that," I said quickly. He waved it off. "It's fine, I get it." But I could tell he didn't really believe it. And I hated that. We fell into silence again, the kind where everything unsaid piles up between you like wet logs that refuse to catch fire. Eventually, we both stood. Milo looked like he wanted to say something more, but instead he just gave me a quiet, "Good night," and disappeared inside. I stood there for a minute longer, staring out at the water, trying to slow my heartbeat. The air was warm, but I felt cold. Because I knew what was happening, and I wasn't sure I was ready for it. The next morning was quiet. Logan was already gone by the time I woke up, probably out on the lake fishing like he said he would. The house was still, sun filtering through the windows, casting soft light across the wood floors. I stretched, cracked my neck, and padded barefoot to the kitchen. Milo was there, shirtless again, leaning against the counter in gym shorts, sipping coffee like he'd always lived here. His hair was still damp from a shower, curling slightly at the edges. "Morning," he said, not looking at me. "Hey!" I poured myself a cup and leaned against the fridge, unsure if we were pretending last night didn't happen or if we were both just too hungover for small talk. But then he looked at me, and there it was again. That thing. The quiet awareness. The lingering. "You okay?" he asked. I nodded slowly. "Just tired." Milo held my gaze. "You sure?" I swallowed. "About what?" He shrugged. "You tell me." It would have been easier if he was the kind of guy to play games. If he flirted with everyone, kept things vague. But Milo wasn't like that. When he looked at you, he meant it. And that made all of this way more complicated. I turned to grab toast, buying time, grounding myself with something stupid and ordinary. Milo walked over and stood beside me. Too close, but not touching. "You don't have to freak out," he said quietly. I glanced at him. "I'm not." "You are," I sighed. "It's not that simple." He tilted his head, studying me. "Because of Logan? Yes. And, no, I don't know. Everything's blurry." He stepped back, gave me space. But his voice stayed soft. "I'm not here to mess up your cousin time. And I'm not trying to trap you into anything. I just thought we had a thing." My jaw tightened. "We don't know each other. Then get to know me." He said it so plainly, like it was the most reasonable thing in the world. But the truth was, I didn't know how to get close to someone without burning everything around me. Especially not in a place that used to feel so safe. Especially not with Logan 2 rooms away. I didn't answer. And Milo didn't push. He just gave a small nod and left the kitchen, taking his coffee with him. The rest of the day passed in fragments. Logan came back around noon, stinking of fish and sunblock, proudly showing off the trout he caught. Milo played it cool, like nothing had happened, and I forced myself into the rhythm, helping with lunch, making jokes, tossing a football in the yard. But every time I looked at Milo, he wasn't looking at me. That night, Logan passed out early again. Too many beers, too much sun. I found myself standing outside on the deck around midnight, the lake like black glass, everything still. I didn't hear Milo come out, but I felt him beside me. He leaned on the railing, arms crossed. "I get it if this isn't something you want," he said. "But if it is something you want, you don't have to be afraid of it." I stared straight ahead. "What if I don't know what I want?" Milo turned to me. "Then let me make it easier." Before I could ask what he meant, he leaned in. Not fast, not dramatic, just close enough that I could feel his breath, the heat of him, the intent. He paused, giving me time to move, to say something, to stop it. I didn't. Our lips met, soft, hesitant, like both of us weren't sure if we'd imagined this whole thing. But then it deepened. My hand found his chest, and his fingers slid around my waist. We kissed like we were catching up to something that had already started long before either of us noticed. When we pulled apart, I didn't step away, neither did he. His forehead rested against mine. "You okay?" he whispered. I nodded, and for the first time all weekend I wasn't lying. But even in that moment, I knew this wasn't the end of anything. It was the start, and if Logan found out, things could get very, very real. I didn't sleep much that night. After Milo kissed me, after I kissed him back, we stood there for a long time, barely speaking. Eventually, we both went inside, wordless, like if we didn't name what had just happened, it couldn't get messy. But I lay in bed, staring at the ceiling, heart racing like I'd just run a mile. Every sound in the house, floorboards creaking, wind brushing the windows, felt too loud. I kept imagining Logan waking up, walking in, putting it all together. And the worst part? I didn't know if I was scared of being caught or scared of how right it had felt. By morning, everything felt different. Not in a dramatic way, but like something had shifted, subtle but irreversible. At breakfast, Logan was his usual self, joking around, dumping hot sauce on his eggs like a psychopath. Milo was quieter than usual, but not enough for Logan to notice. He didn't look at me much, which I was grateful for and annoyed by in equal measure. We were pretending nothing had happened. But every glance felt heavier, every brush of fingers too electric. I tried to focus on Logan's stories, on coffee, on the sun, anything but the fire crawling under my skin. After we ate, Logan suggested we go out on the boat. Just the three of us, like old times, except it wasn't like old times at all. We loaded up the cooler, grabbed towels, and headed down to the dock. Milo and I avoided eye contact while we sat side by side, knees almost touching. Logan stood at the front, steering, his voice trailing off into the breeze as he talked about everything and nothing. I wanted to enjoy it. I really did. But my chest was tight because Milo had kissed me. And I'd kissed him back, and I couldn't stop thinking about what it meant, or what Logan would do if he ever found out. Eventually, we dropped anchor in one of the quiet coves, tucked between rocky outcroppings. Logan cracked a beer and dove into the water with a whoop, splashing like a kid. Milo stayed on the boat, pretending to fiddle with the speaker, but I could feel his eyes on me. I sat across from him, watching Logan swim circles around the boat, grinning like he didn't have a care in the world. Milo finally spoke, voice low. "Are we gonna talk about it?" I swallowed. "Not here." He leaned forward slightly, elbows on his knees. "Then when?" "I don't know," I said. "This isn't easy for me." He gave a soft laugh, not unkind. "You think it's easy for me? I think you're braver than I am." He looked at me then, fully, and I felt seen in a way that made me squirm. "I don't need you to be brave," he said. "I just need you to be honest." I didn't have a reply to that, because I wasn't even sure I knew what the truth was yet. Back at the house, things only got weirder. Logan suggested we do a fire pit night, just like old times, complete with s'mores and music and a Bluetooth speaker that kept cutting out. Milo stayed quiet for most of it, occasionally laughing at something Logan said, but mostly just sipping his beer and staring into the flames. I could feel him pulling back. I didn't blame him. I was pulling back too. When Logan eventually went inside to take a shower, Milo stood up from his spot by the fire. "I'm not mad," he said before I could speak. "But I don't want to play pretend all weekend either." "I'm not pretending it didn't happen," I said. "Then what are you doing?" I didn't answer right away. "I'm trying to protect something," I said finally. Milo looked at me, confused. "Protect what?" "Logan, us, this whole thing. I don't want to break something that's not mine." He took a slow breath, eyes searching mine. "What if you're protecting the wrong thing?" Then he turned and walked back inside. And for the first time since I got there, I didn't follow him. The fire pit still crackled, throwing shadows against the trees. I sat there for a long time after Milo went inside, letting the flames chew through the last bits of kindling like they were angry about something. I didn't blame them. Everything felt like it was burning from the inside out. I thought about Milo's question, what if you're protecting the wrong thing? And I didn't have an answer. It wasn't just about Logan, it was about me. About the way I'd built my whole life on keeping things tidy and small, staying likable, non-threatening, safe. And Milo, he didn't do safe. When I finally came inside, the house was quiet. Logan's door was shut. Milo's was cracked slightly, a sliver of light spilling into the hallway. I almost knocked. Almost. But instead, I just kept walking to my room. The next morning, the air in the house had shifted. Logan was sitting at the table, scrolling through his phone, a half-eaten plate of toast in front of him. He looked up when I walked in. "You and Milo good?" he asked, casual on the surface, but his tone a little too careful. "Why?" he shrugged. "I don't know, just feels like something's off." I opened the fridge, grabbing juice mostly to avoid eye contact. "We're fine." "Uh-huh." Logan wasn't stupid. He'd always had this way of reading people that made it hard to lie around him, even by omission. I changed the subject. "You still heading out tomorrow?" "Yeah, early." He yawned, rubbing a hand through his hair. "Got that family thing in the city. Y'all can stay though. House is yours for the rest of the weekend." Something in my chest tensed. The idea of Milo and I alone here after everything, it both terrified and thrilled me. Logan looked at me again, longer this time. I like him, he said suddenly. Milo. He's cool. I nodded. Yeah, he is. You ever think about telling me? Logan asked. My heart stopped. Telling you what? Logan raised an eyebrow, the corner of his mouth tugging up slightly, like he knew exactly what kind of chaos he was stepping into. Come on, Jace. You think I haven't noticed? I froze, juice carton still in my hand. Noticed what? He leaned back in his chair, arms crossed. Dude, I've known you were into guys since we were like 15. You didn't exactly hide those wrestling DVDs. I blinked. Wait, what? He grinned. Yeah, sorry. You were real bad at hiding stuff, but I figured if you wanted to talk, you would. I felt my face flush, equal parts embarrassed and stunned. So you've just known this whole time? Logan nodded. Pretty much. And you're okay with it? He shrugged. You're my cousin. You're my best friend. Why the hell wouldn't I be? I sat down across from him, a weird mix of relief and disbelief crashing over me. So, you're really not mad? Mad? He snorted. What, because you might have feelings for Milo? Please, I was kind of hoping something would happen. That caught me completely off guard. What? Logan smirked. Milo's good for you. You're different around him. Lighter. I stared at him, speechless. He leaned forward, more serious now. But you gotta stop hiding from yourself, Jace. You're allowed to want things. I didn't know what to say. Just sat there, staring into my glass of juice like it had answers. Later that day, Logan left. He packed up with his usual chaos, forgetting his toothbrush, yelling for someone to find his keys, and gave me a hard clap on the back before getting in his Jeep. You got the house, he said. Don't burn it down. Then he looked at me, more earnest. Don't waste this, I nodded. And then it was just me and Milo. I found him on the back porch, curled up with that same sketch pad, legs pulled up, hoodie sleeves covering his hands. He didn't look up when I sat beside him. I let the silence sit for a moment before speaking. Logan knows. That got his attention. He turned, cautious. And he's cool with it. Milo stared at me, like he was trying to decide if he believed me. With you and me? I nodded. He exhaled slowly. Okay, so now what? I hesitated, then reached out, covering his hand with mine. Now we stop pretending. His fingers curled around mine, hesitant at first, then firmer. You sure? He asked. I looked at him, really looked, and nodded. Yeah, I'm done hiding. His smile wasn't huge, but it was real, and that was enough. For the first time all weekend, I wasn't fighting something inside me. I was choosing it. The silence that followed wasn't awkward. It was settled. Like all the noise that had been swirling between us all weekend had finally quieted. Milo leaned back into the porch swing, our fingers still laced together. I didn't realize how tightly I'd been holding on to everything until I let it go. The shame. The fear. The voice in my head that kept whispering this will ruin everything. It hadn't. It might have actually saved something. I don't really do this, I said quietly. Be open. Be seen, Milo nodded. Me neither. But I'm tired of being invisible to the people who matter. I looked at him. You're not invisible. He smiled, but there was an edge of sadness behind it. Sometimes I still feel like I am, even when I'm surrounded by people. You weren't invisible to me, I said. Not even for a second. He didn't say anything, just leaned over and pressed his forehead to my shoulder. I felt his breath against my neck, slow and warm. We stayed like that for a long time. Later that night, we moved inside and made dinner together. Nothing fancy. Pasta, jarred sauce, garlic bread that got a little too crispy. But it felt real. Easy. Like, we'd already lived together for a while and had routines. After we ate, Milo disappeared into the bedroom for a few minutes. When he came back, he had his sketch pad again. You gonna show me what you've been drawing? I asked. Some of it. He sat beside me on the couch and flipped through a few pages. Quiet lakeside moments. Shadows on the porch, my profile in mid-laugh, captured so precisely it felt like looking at someone else. "You've been sketching me this whole time?" He gave a sheepish smile. "Not the whole time, just when you looked calm. Or lost in thought." I kept flipping. Toward the end of the pad, the lines got softer, more intimate. One was of the two of us sitting side by side on the dock, drawn from memory clearly, but his version of me looked relaxed, open, unburdened. I didn't recognize that guy, but I wanted to. We fell asleep in the same bed that night. No big moment, no dramatic music. Just two people lying beside each other, quietly aware of how far they'd come in a few days. At some point in the night, I woke up to find Milo's arm draped over my waist, his breath warm against my shoulder. I didn't move. I just let it be. In the morning, the light filtered through the windows like honey. Milo stirred beside me. "Morning! Morning!" I said. We didn't rush to get up. There was no schedule, no plan. Just the lake. The quiet. Us. Eventually, we packed up the house, cleaned out the fridge, and folded the towels, like Logan's mom always reminded us to. Milo caught me stealing glances at him more than once, and every time, he gave me that same look, like he saw straight through me and liked what he saw anyway. As we loaded the car, I paused at the edge of the driveway and looked back at the house. "Feels different now," I said. "Because it is," Milo replied. He didn't ask what came next, didn't ask what this was or where we'd go from here. But I knew we weren't done, not even close.